Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Pash On Podcast. Let's get started with your host, Brian Pash.
All right. I can't wait to get into this conversation. Today, we're going to be talking about the future of first-party data management, website experiences, all regarding the power of the Dealer eProcess connected retail platform. Gino Ciparroni, he is the Chief Revenue Officer from Dealer eProcess. Sam Bucas, the Chief Operating Officer from Dealer eProcess. Gentlemen, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Brian. Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
And for those of you who are watching this interview, and if you think you recognize Sam, you may want to just go in the kitchen cabinet, get your package of Brawny paper towels, and he is the sexy model for the Brawny paper towels. Or that's been alleged, Sam. Can we put that rumor to rest?
Yeah, I can't confirm or deny, but, there's a striking resemblance. Dan's the one that started the rumor. He'll appreciate your soundbite on this, by the way, because it's the first thing he said to me when he walked into my office this morning.
Okay, there we go. And as a user of Brawny paper towels, I highly recommend them. So, listen, we are releasing this podcast interview before NADA. NADA's just a few days away. And there's going to be a lot of buzz and topics, but one topic that has pushed into this year is more dealers understanding the value of their first-party data, creating personalized experiences, one-to-one communication. And I've been talking about that topic in conjunction with customer data platforms, but as we're going to talk about that today, very few dealers are using customer data platforms. So what are we supposed to do to elevate the customer experience? Gino, I want to start with you. When you think of great retail experiences online, what are car dealers missing that you believe consumers appreciate, value, and recognize as compared to maybe when they visit a car dealer's website?
I think that if I could sum it up in a few different words, it's speed, it's simplicity, and most of all, it's a personalized experience. So when you think of all the great retailers out there, everyone's mind is first going to go to Amazon, obviously, right?
Right.
You can't not consider them if you're talking about what makes online retailing great. And they've been the prototype of that for decades now and have turned into a $1 trillion company in just honing in on this aspect of how they do business. And if you think about it, that's also led to Amazon being one of the most loved brands in the world.
Sure.
Which is interesting when you think about the perception that people have of the businesses that they interact with online. And I know that the perception historically of car dealerships has been a little hit or miss with consumers, let's say. And a lot of times consumers have maybe some trepidation when thinking about, oh, I got to go buy a car. There goes my whole Saturday. I mean, for example, my parents bought a car this weekend. They were at the dealership for 6 hours.
Ouch.
6 hours, even though they had done a lot of the steps in the process already ahead of time. So going back to this idea of perception and how do we change that perception with the consumers, it starts online because that is your first interaction with these people. They're not going to walk in your store until they walk into your digital showroom. So if your website and your marketing experience is disconnected, if it's slow, if it's clunky, if it's hard to use, if it's giving mismatched information, if one system is communicating with you one thing while another system is sending you another piece of information, why would I expect my experience with you in person to be any different? So that's kind of the mentality that I think has been really just actually the big problem in automotive when it comes to digital, is that nobody has really taken the steps needed to solve that major problem. And I think that and I know that's what we're doing with the connected retail platform, is how do we bring everything together in a really concise way to create, as cliche as it sounds, that Amazon experience to not only give customers a better car buying process and a better way to actually engage with your store, have the tools that know what they're doing at any given time, and evolve with their purchasing journey. Not only to give them that, but to give them a better perception of you as a dealership before they make the first call or before they walk in. That's the main goal of the Connected Retail platform here.
When you think about what a typical dealer website is, the service scheduler is completely unaware of the digital retailing tool, right? And then if there's some forms on the website or a credit app or a trade, right? Consumers are putting in their information over and over again. And somebody, has to step back and say, hey, stop the insanity. A core automotive retail website needs to have seamless embedding of technology for a trade, technology for a credit app, technology to do a rough pencil, technology to schedule service. Sam, we used to fight, I want the best of breed, and it became a jigsaw puzzle or Joseph's Technicolor Dreamcoat. Today, I see dealers saying, look, I can save money, I can improve the customer experience if all the tools on my website are working together so people really feel that they're only entering their information. What's your take on the power that DEP can provide as many tools as the dealers want to make identity resolution, personalization consistent across all the aspects of automotive retail?
So the spot that we're in and we've been in for a long time is digital marketing driving to the website has kind of been just a one-to-one. Good digital marketing to the website would drive a user based on their search term to a landing page that's relevant to what the search term was, but it was very static. And the minute that somebody got out of that kind of experience, everything is different. And like you said, it doesn't understand each other. Like if I go and I see a payment on a Kia Telluride, now I actually go to the real SRP and not the landing page. The payments probably don't match the same thing. Where we saw, a huge uptick in the industry years back was when the advent of agencies were creating those pages that would change dynamically based on what the user came into. I can think of a couple companies that do that very well, but again, it's separate from the website. And again, the website doesn't have insight into it. It was an iframe. So the more tools that you can stack together from the same provider, you can have that entire holistic viewpoint of that customer journey. And we have, as a website provider, so much information from the point that that shopper gets to the website when they're anonymous, even before they identify themselves. So there is so much extra data that we find, and we've been collecting through ClickPath data that we call iSpy, that tags the user the minute they get to the website. We've been doing this for years. We started off as doing this just simply for alerts to let dealers know that the shopper was back on the website and what cars they've looked at since the last time that they were there. We're now using that to create this total consumer profile from the website to digital retailing to trade, so that you can actually understand what they're doing on the site and marry that both with the marketing that you're driving them to the website with, and also feeding that back into your own marketing to help audience creation while giving them a personalized experience instead of just on a single landing page. The whole site's changing.
Right. And, Sam, you brought up a really key word, iframe. I'm working on a big CDP project, and this level of intricacy when it comes to identity resolution, knowing who the person is, I didn't quite realize what a rat's nest all these iframes, because when you have or attempt to have a seamless experience across an entire website and all the tools, if those tools are popping up in iframes, those iframes have to ingest the identity resolution tag and in turn have to push the form data and things back into the identity resolution collector. And man, I didn't realize what a big pain in the butt that was, because, like I mentioned, you could have a chat provider that has a form tool. You could have a pop-up incentive thing. You mentioned dynamic landing pages, which could be separate. You have the service scheduler, you have the DR tool, you have a credit app. I mean, I can keep on going, but each one of these pieces right now, we've allowed a disconnected experience. We've allowed a broken retail thing because it was the shiny object. Gino, when we think about last January 23rd, 1 year ago, you announced the connected retail platform as a way to streamline the shopping experience, the retail experience, save dealers money because of all the integrated tools. But more importantly, once it's all connected, you could create personalization across the whole journey. You could ingest third-party audiences to even enhance that visit before they start doing the tools. What was the inspiration? Like, why was it now? Why was it a good time 1 year ago? And now it's in production, and now dealers are seeing results. Why was the connected retail platform investment so critical last year?
I think a lot of things kind of came to a head last year that started to make this apparent that this was the way we had to go. One of those was the stagnation in innovation in the website world. I think that we were responsible for this. I think every other provider out there was responsible for this. Everybody had really there hadn't been any sort of big major updates to how the website interacts with consumers in decades, right? I mean, essentially an SRP now, for the most part, works the same as an SRP did 10 years ago. There's variations in how it looks and certain features, but it's still just the same SRP. Obviously, the shopper from 10 years ago is way different than the shopper is today. So coming to that realization was part of it. We also started looking at, marketing and this use of first-party data now coming to light, because there are more and more dealers that are using outside data sources that could influence their marketing. But they were looking at that kind of with blinders on and just saying, I need this data list because I need to use it for this marketing campaign. It's like, okay, great. Like Sam was saying, what happens when they get to the website? And because another thing that had been such a big problem for a long time is that dealers had always talked about, not dealers, but just everyone in general had always talked about marketing in one sentence and then the website in a completely other sentence. But the two are completely integrated. I can't imagine it being a successful campaign where if I target you, Brian, as an in-market Honda Pilot shopper, and I know that because I have this great data source that knows everything about you, even though you don't want it to, that says you are about to buy a Honda Pilot, and I give you a very robust, very relevant message about the specific Pilot you want, the certain trim, maybe what, pricing, whatever like that. And then you just land flat on a page that doesn't know any of that happened. That's such a misstep, right?
Right.
It'd be like me as a greeter at the dealership, let's say, just talking to you, say, hey, Brian, thanks for coming in. What are you looking for? And you tell me everything you want. And then I walk you over to a salesperson and I don't tell that salesperson anything.
Right.
It starts all over again. So all of that combined, we said, we need to do a better job in connecting all of these dots and upgrading the website into a way that it actually can almost act with a brain in a way that knows each individual customer, what they're looking for, what they were told in their marketing message, and then what to serve them on the site every single time they come back to the site to be more and more precise with how to get them where they need to go.
Right. If a consumer comes to a dealer reprocess website and fills out trade eval, right, because you have your own trade tool, if they come back later and start to do a DR transaction, when it comes to the trade, you have the ability to say, hey, you want to include the trade and the details that you did last time you were here. Like these are really simple things that you would have expected. It's kind of like Save Travelers in my United or Delta account. I mean, if I add, a friend that I travel with or carry, it's always there. I'm not repeating that step. But how many times when consumers come back to the website, it doesn't remember where it is? And Sam, I want to address, a topic that you've challenged me on as I've been talking about CDPs. You said, hey, Brian, what? Probably less than 10% of all the dealers are ready to or understand how to invest in a CDP, but we're ready now in identity resolution. We're ready now to personalize the website. We're ready now to integrate third-party audiences. And that in itself, Brian, is probably a bigger practical step that dealers would appreciate. Talk a little bit more about that. what do you see as a dealer moving from, say, a stale website platform to a connected retail platform? What are you telling those dealers they can expect as a performance improvement, a conversion improvement, or a customer experience improvement without needing a CDP?
So there's two parts. There's the single point stores and then the groups. I'll talk about both kind of interchangeably as I go. So the way I look at it is the personalization based on the info that we collect as they're browsing the website. It's really kind of a 70-30. We can do a lot of personalization, 70% across the board. And if you have a CDP, great. It's the cherry on top. It's the extra 30%. It's a little bit more detailed. It's more things that I can do and gives the opportunity to personalize on the first visit. But if you're not leveraging a CDP, the amount of data that we collect now, for example, you said somebody puts in a lead, they come back to the site, we can reuse the trade. We've been doing that for years. Taking it a step further, we know that most shoppers, when they come back to the website, if they're in market, go right to the SRP. So we are also now storing the last recent 10 searches that any shopper has done. Even if they didn't save it or fill out a lead, it's immediately going to show them in the filter where they're natively going. You don't have to make a login. You don't have to try to jump back in. It's just going to say, hey, these are some of the spots that you left off last time you were here. Do you want to revisit where you were at? By serving them that data, you're going to increase your conversion because you're getting them to what they're looking for that much quicker. You're giving them a better experience. You're saying, wow, this site remembers who I am. I didn't have to make an account, anything else. I have this information. Now, on the group side of it, we find that many shoppers do cross-shop the different brands amongst a group. One thing that kind of goes by the wayside that nobody has really valued up until this point is the data collected on, say, groups Kia site A, and then shopper goes to group Kia site or Hyundai site B. Granted, you're looking Kia to Hyundai, but if I already know that they were looking at the Kia Telluride because they want third row seating and they want heated seats and they want all this information, when they get to your Hyundai site, why am I showing them an Ioniq 6? We need to be showing them. We need to be showing them the Hyundai Palisade. We need to be showing them all the different, options that are on those. It's the interchangeable car. Let's be honest. Telluride to Palisade, same thing. But we can now share that data to, again, personalize the experience amongst the group. So it doesn't matter if you have 2 sites, 3 sites, 10 sites with DEP, that data flows back and forth to effectively give a personalized experience to that shopper. Going even further, if we have all of that information collected, now at the group level, you can see that Kia site spent X to get the shopper there. They looked, then they cross-shopped, and you can get that full user journey and click path information detailed down to the shopper. Of course, there are safeguards in place where we can block from certain logins seeing and not seeing. We can even prevent certain sites from sharing amongst one another if there's any splits, because I do know some groups kind of operate as group A and group B amongst the same umbrella.
The politics.
Yeah. So we've built in some safeguards to protect it, but now we are not losing the insight gained from everything that the shopper did on site A when they go to site B. And to Gino's point, you have to have the conversation about marketing and the website being the same thing. You can't have 2 different conversations, because every action that shopper made once we spent the money to get them to the site matters, even though they eventually converted on site B but started on site A. So it just helps with audience creation and reporting and just feeding it back into the marketing automation system to just make our targeted audiences even better.
Yeah, when I think of the power of dealer groups, especially dealer groups that are in a tighter geographic market, right? So you have one of your customers, Pahanka Auto Group, right? They have a lot of stores in that DC, Virginia area, multiple brands, both luxury and midstream. And people do shop around. What I think is amazing about the ClickPath journey that you're keeping, especially for dealer groups, this is so important when, say, somebody in the dealership marks a consumer out of market, like, oh no, they don't need a car. And then boom, they're out shopping on another site. This data gives dealers and dealer groups a competitive edge because their own cluster of websites are like their own custom audience. Gino, let's talk about one other thing. As someone comes to the website and returns, you're building this journey. But one of the beauties of the connected retail platform is you realize, look, we have a great infrastructure. We've been doing identity resolution, ClickBath, but what if we could know who the person was ahead of time without needing a CDP? And this is the ability to ingest third-party shopping audiences. So when someone comes, if they were out shopping for a Silverado, but not on your dealer's website, the website could still be personalized for that Silverado. I think when dealers think about this, this is the ultimate holy grail, so that when somebody first comes to a dealer or dealer group website, it starts before they even start shopping. Talk about that power of smart third-party audiences.
Yeah, I think a funny analogy has kind of popped in my head, because I know one of your favorite places in the world, Brian, is Florence, and one of the hallmarks of visiting Florence is going to see Michelangelo's David, right?
That's right.
So if you think about it, Michelangelo started the David statue with one giant block of granite, right? Slowly chipped, or marble, whatever. Slowly chipped away, got it to like a figure of a person, and then chipped away for the finer details. And now you have a masterpiece. Starting with that data, like you mentioned, takes you half the way. So you don't start with just a plain block. You start with that figure of a person, and then slowly you can just hammer out the details, and you get to your end goal way faster and way more efficiently. And having this data is really important for a dealer, because if you think about traditional marketing or the way the website's typically set up, you tend to start at square zero with everybody that you engage with online. But if I know ahead of time that Sam has been looking at, 5 different cars, I know he has a higher preference for the Hyundai Palisade than he does for the Kia, which Sam does. I know Sam's a Hyundai fanboy. He does for the Kia Telluride than he does for the Honda Pilot. But I know that's his consideration set. Maybe I'm a Toyota dealer, and maybe I think I can get in the game here if I know this about this guy, because I also have a competing model. And so if I can start to chisel away at Sam's shopping journey and say what you really want is the Toyota 4Runner because of XYZ, then I can get you farther into my funnel from the get-go than I could just kind of waiting or sitting back and just waiting for you to come to me. So that's something that we're actually going to be bringing to dealers at NADA, is the ability to look into a marketplace, identify people you've never spoken to, and get that level of insight on them, and also get the ability to communicate with them before they even come to the site.
I'll give another example, because I haven't seen it yet. I've been known to purchase cigars here or there, and they're all for gifts, of course.
Of course.
And when I go to cigars.com or, Cigar King, I've been there enough and purchased enough that they should stop putting these like bulk bundles. I've never bought a bulk bundle of cigars.
You buy the acid bundle, Brian?
Yeah, no, I didn't. It sounds dirty, and it's like a 60s drug. But, it's like I never bought seconds. I've never bought nub. Okay. Yet, when I go back, they could personalize that experience and say, here's the Monte Cristos that you like on sale or not. Here are the Placentia cigars that you like. You see what I'm saying? In the same way, if a cigar company was using third-party data and knew some of those preferences, my first visit to a new site could be personalized. And I'm like, wow, how did this cigar site know exactly what I wanted? Well, that's the power of data. The connected retail platform allows dealers to build audiences through your own tech and supplement those audiences with third party to create a personalized experience. Sam, when you think of the core tools that DEP has built and perfected, so credit, right? Credit pre-approval, pre-screen. You have the trade valuation, guaranteed offer. You have the digital retailing experience. You have service scheduling. And chat/messaging. All of these with your same identity resolution layer, all with the ability to be personalized. Why do you think dealers still are paying, $6.99 a month for this plugin, $7.99 a month for this plugin, and knowing that they don't talk to each other, you can't do personalization. What's going to break their mindset to say, not only am I going to save money, but I have identity resolution, click path tracking, and seamless personalization across the whole journey? What's going to be that breaking point?
Well, it's the fact that the technology is complementary. There's certain features that you can only get when you pair things together. You're going to have digital retailing payments syndicated throughout the website, connected to your digital marketing, so that you're not chasing down different vendors. You're going to want to offer consistency and, again, just speed to market when it comes to offering your specials and getting things out there ahead of your competition. We definitely see plenty of dealers that have third parties, and we integrate them, I'd say, well beyond what other providers would do, because we want to make sure that they have the best experience, regardless if it's our solution or not. I think dealers have gotten used to the reports that come from the individuals when you do buy a third party that's not part of a package or connected to a platform like ours is. And I get it. Everybody's kind of fighting for attention and stuff on there. And look, there has to be change. There are so many companies out there that have, great solutions that are bolting onto websites. But again, when you are spending the money that you're spending to drive people to your website, and you're going to just lose that insight, you're going to lose that power.
10x, right? 10x what they're spending on a website. Yeah. They could be spending $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a month, and say, "Wow!"
And your $399 tool, the $399 tool just gave you the world's largest black hole. And you're spending $25,000 a month to drive traffic there. It's going to get to a point where, look, through COVID and low rates and everything, dealers were selling cars. We're now starting to get to the opposite of that. We're starting to get to high rates, and people are holding back and they're not buying. So every dollar is going to start counting. And, it's the start of the new year. Dealers start cutting services, things like that. And I really think once we get a little bit more kind of buy-in from the industry, we need to stop bolting on 37 things to a website and expect it to perform and still spend $25,000 a month in advertising. It's really going to come very quickly for dealers to realize the benefits of being on a singular platform where we can feed all of this information right back into the market. I really think it's just going to be a natural evolution.
Sam, one of the other things, I recently wrote a article about group websites and what makes a group website, but I also addressed another article about speed. And, one of the things I just want to, since you're responsible for getting all these pieces to work together and making sure the vendors behave properly on the connected retail platform, I also want to kind of level set here. It's very difficult for you to help a dealer have the best performing, fastest loading website if there's 7 tools on. Each one of those tools are connecting to some other server, which could be having lag times, which could be having performance issues. And yet, with the connected retail platform, maybe one of the other selling points that we should address is that website speed, page loading, redundant code is eliminated because it's all been made to work together. Modular, right? They can, if they want X time for service scheduling, no problem. But if you don't have a preference, if you want this trade tool, okay, if that's really what you need, fine. But if you want to save money, make the site faster, more personalized, and a better Google score for load time, right? Isn't that something we haven't talked enough about? The kind of cluster of code that is maybe impacting SEO, maybe impacting conversion. Tell me a little bit about your thoughts on how the connected retail platform solves that problem.
Yeah. So, I mean, you already explained it. It's all kind of part of the same code base. It's all working together. We can control what's being optimized. The minute you start adding on assets that have to call out to different resources, you're slowing everything down. And to be fair, if I was in a position where I was bolting a solution onto a website in every possible scenario that I could, I would have my Z index cranked way up so that my chat window was over every single form and every single button and everywhere that I can, because I'm responsible to that dealer to say, hey, look how many conversions I'm getting you. So we're all fighting. And if that continues to happen, again, you have code that gets injected to make sure that the trade tool does better than, the forms that are on there if they're using a third-party form system. That's all slowing everything down. It's giving a bad consumer experience, but it's slowing you down, and it's ruining and wrecking page speed score. Now, we have talked about page speed score a lot. A lot of dealers do like to talk about it. The problem is everybody wants this just perfect answer. They want this immediate fix to say, oh, hey, we're going to have it, running perfect no matter what. That's just not the case. Everybody's servers are different. Really what it boils down to is you need to be with a solution that has you covered across the board and allow best of breed plugin here and there, but do it properly where the website vendor controls a lot of that integration, not just slapping code in the head of the site and hoping for the best. Yep. I can also say that there may be some programs in the future that might be, requiring that. So, it's all going to come down to dealers are going to, again, see the benefit. They're going to understand that with the website vendor, that's where you're driving your traffic, and to give the control to make sure that speed is hit and make sure things are launching appropriately at the same time. It really is a platform play,
Gino, as the Chief Revenue Officer, your job is to educate dealers on the power of the connected retail platform, and to really make the case that this is different. This isn't stale. This isn't a new gimmick. It's really a complete repurposing of all the DEP tools that you've built over the years for a single platform with single identity, with end-to-end personalization, click path tracking. Dealers who are going to NADA, let's talk to the answer on that. And dealers who are not going to NADA but want to get a demo, are you booking appointments, or do they just show up at the booth at NADA? Give some guidelines, because I really believe when dealers, as Sam mentioned, looking to reduce costs, looking to improve the customer experience, want a faster, leaner, frictionless website. And if it's going to cost them less than all the tools they're doing now, and they get more, I mean, this is a home run. So how are you educating dealers, showcasing the connected retail platform at NADA or just online?
Yeah, I mean, obviously online at any time, if somebody wants to get a demo or take a look at what we're doing, that's always an option. At NADA, we love walk-ups to the booth. We love when people pre-schedule demos. We are once again giving away our now famous Louis Vuitton bag if you do take a demo. So that's one way. It's just kind of trying to bring down the barriers to entry here for dealers, because for a dealer, I feel bad for dealers because they're bombarded with so much stuff that is so out of their scope every single day. And everybody that comes to them says, this is the best tool you need to have it on your site. No, this is the best tool you need to have it on your site. No, this one's the best tool. So if I was a dealer, I'd be like, just all of you go away. I'm just trying to sell cars. Leave me alone. I have a website that should do it. I have a trade-in tool. I have a chat. Doesn't matter what they are, who powers them. Chat's chat, trade-in's trade-in, and it does the job it needs to. And I think that mentality has caused this problem that we're seeing in the industry, to where you don't know that your chat is like a toxic salesperson in your showroom. It will sell you cars. That person does sell cars, but he's pissing everybody else off. Right? So what's the net effect of that person? Is it positive or negative? But if you're just always being bombarded by this messaging, it's tough to. I mean, it's easy to just close off to that. So we're very educational in our approach. This system, it's not going to be for everybody. Pieces of it will fit here and there, but the whole system, I mean, there are certain dealers where maybe it's a little bit of overkill, so we're not just going to try to force this on everybody. And all we want to do is just educate and have a conversation and bring dealers up to speed at, the state of the art of retail in general, which is purely online, and it is highly personalized. And if you're not moving at least in that direction, you're kind of sitting on the sidelines. You're getting left out. So that's our approach. I think we're very easy to work with in that regard.
Well, yeah, and I love the idea that dealers can use as many tools from you as they like to create a personalized, seamless experience. And of course, you work and support almost every tool on the marketplace that are already So they can trim down, slim down, and still leave some of their favorite gems on. I think that's important. But more importantly, it's the identity resolution, the custom audiences, and the third-party audiences that support first-party data management. Every dealer needs that, whether a single-point store or a small group or a large group. And all of that is possible without a CDP. And if a dealer is investing in a CDP, wow, then that's another leg forward of making sure that the retail experience is powered by the latest, freshest, updated data. And that's what I really believe is going to be a hot conversation, how the connected retail platform will transform how OEM brands are presented to shoppers online. I think that's very important. With OEMs, we've seen Mazda release their CDP platform. Ford Direct has their CDP platform. Other OEMs are working on it. Recognizing, appreciating, and facilitating a sale for known consumers or pre-identified consumers is the future of automotive retail. And I want to thank you guys for building really a first in an open, that's the key, an open platform that gives dealers choice. So Gino, Sam, thanks for your time today. Dealers who are interested more, you can go to dealereprocess.com for more information. And not that dealers will remember a booth number, but if you go to Dealer eProcess website, you will see the information about NADA and the opportunity to win a wonderful prize that you can take for yourself or bring back to your spouse. Come on. Who doesn't like a nice Louis Vuitton bag? I want to thank you for listening in on our first podcast interview for 2024 in video format. There are hundreds of previous discussions on the Brian Pash podcast channel. So when you have a moment on your favorite podcast player, just search Brian Pash Podcast and listen to a conversation with other industry innovators. I'll be at NADA at the PCG Digital booth, so make sure you stop by and say hello. I'll also be walking the floor, so I hope to see all our friends and colleagues in the industry in Las Vegas in February. Gino, Sam, thanks again.
Thank you, Brian. Take care,
Thanks,
everyone.
Brian.
Take care. Thanks for listening in today, and don't forget to listen to our other conversations online. Just search for the Brian Pash Podcast.